The Town of Montgomery IDA, by the chairman, in accordance with the agency's bylaws, will be conducting a special meeting of the agency on Friday, February 14th, 2020 at 11:30 a.m. at the Town Government Center, Bracken Road, Montgomery, New York. The purpose of this meeting is for the agency's consideration of the following matters: consideration of an approving resolution for the USEF Sailfish LLC project and any other such business as may be appropriate by the members in attendance at such special meeting of the agency. That's signed by me, dated February 6th, 2020. I'd like to do a roll call of the board quickly, and by way of introduction for everybody's benefit, starting with John Macchiosi, John Dixon, Ed Williams, myself, Jeffrey Quist, Bob Santo, Steve Rinaldi, Matt Stoddard, our counsel to the far left, Robert McLaughlin, Secretary Sue Haddon, and thank you to Billy Iverson for the live stream, which is customary at our meetings now. We are here to consider the seeker and approving resolutions for USEF Sailfish LLC, and that's a project assignment application. So do we have the names of the additional letters? Is that here? Sorry about that. Oh yeah. I did want to acknowledge we've received 9 emails since the public hearing closed this past Tuesday night, February 11th at about 7:45. Ursula Lettner on the 12th of February, Barbara Lerner the 12th, Joe Keenan the 12th, Beverly Mertz February 13th, John Lown February 13th, Jane Vero the 13th, and then this morning Don Berger, Fred Mertz, and Lynn Brown were all received as of an hour or so ago. Our 2 items of business are the approving resolution for seeker, as well as the approving resolution for the project. I'm going to ask our counsel, Bob McLaughlin, to review the seeker resolution for USEF Sailfish. Bob.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, board members. Before you for consideration as part of the approving resolution is a seeker resolution. As a reminder, seeker stands for the State Environmental Quality Review Act, and as a public body, before you can take any action, you need to stop and take under seeker a hard look at the project and determine if there is any environmental impact and if those impacts have been addressed by way of mitigation or otherwise. As a reminder, back in November, on November 12th, at your regular meeting then, you considered a seeker resolution for the initial application with the company Blue Water One LLC. At that time, you reviewed the environmental assessment form that was submitted. You also reviewed the planning board's finding statement, the final environmental impact statement, and the planning board's finding statement. As part of that resolution, you adopted an agency finding statement that included reference to the planning board's finding statement. That was part of the coordinated review that agency did with other agencies listed in the statement, actually in the impact statement. What this resolution seeks approval for, because of an assignment of the application, seeks your approval to confirm and readopt the agency finding statement that was adopted by this board on November 12th. Happy to take any questions.
Questions from the board on the seeker resolution? And it would be appropriate to act on this separate from the approving resolution.
And by roll call vote, please.
So I would ask for a motion.
I make that motion.
Motion by John Dixon, second by John Macchiosi. Any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I would ask for a roll call vote, starting with my right, John Macchiosi.
I do.
John Dixon,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
myself, aye.
Yes.
Bob, Steve,
No.
nay, Matt.
Yes.
So we have 6 in favor and 1 opposed.
Thank you.
The second item on today's agenda is the approving resolution for USEF Sailfish LLC, which includes the project assignment. And board members have a copy of that document before them. I'm going to go through some parts of this. This is a resolution authorizing execution of documents in connection with a lease/leaseback transaction for a project and project assignment for USEF Sailfish LLC, the assignee. And I would ask the board members if they have a question as I'm going, just give a shout and I'll stop. And once I finish reviewing this document, we can have any appropriate discussion needed, and then we would ask for a motion. As Bob mentioned, this Blue Water 1 LLC application was submitted to us in December of 2018. There was a public hearing scheduled by this board to be held last February 2019, which took place on November 12th, 2019. The board approved a seeker and approving resolution for the Blue Water 1 LLC project. And then moving into this document, that covered about 4 pages of background. On page 6, if the board would like to see, we're referring to, this is a section of findings and proposed determinations, and part of what we'll be voting on presumably in a few minutes. It starts out with A, by virtue of act, the agency has been vested with all powers necessary and convenient to carry out and effectuate the purposes and provisions of the act and to exercise all powers granted to it under the act. The project site is located entirely within the boundaries of the town of Montgomery, Orange County, New York. It is estimated at the present time that the cost of the planning, development, acquisition, construction, installation of the project facility will be approximately $75 million. The granting of financial, and I'm moving on to the page 7, paragraph G. The granting of financial assistance by the agency with respect to the project will promote and maintain the job opportunities, general prosperity, and economic welfare of the citizens of the town of Montgomery, Orange County, New York, and the state of New York, and improve their standard of living and thereby serve the public purposes of the act. The agency has reviewed all information it has received related to the project, including without limitation the application, assignment application, related supplemental material submitted by the company and the assignee, the hearing report, the additional hearing report, the video archive of the public hearing held on January 6th and continued on February 11th, 2020, with the written comments, opinions submitted by the agency, submitted to the agency by members of the public, various public entities, public officials, and has fully considered all comments contained wherein. After consideration of such information, documents, comments, and opinions, including those submitted by the town board and the school district, the agency finds as follows. And I might just break from the text and thank everybody for their comments. We've had supportive and opposition. It's brought up a lot of different items. I can sincerely say it's helped this board do a better job of understanding all the issues and taking those into consideration in our decision. Does the board have any questions at this point? No. Moving on to paragraph H, subparagraph I guess it's 1. The agency documents will require that the assignee or its successors or assigns comply with the planning board finding statement as adopted and including in the agency's finding statement as submitted and approved. Section 875 of the General Municipal Law Recapture Agreement will be executed by the assignee and such other parties as may be required by the Act and the agency. The town board has determined that the pilot request will reduce the initial financial burden on the affected taxing jurisdictions. The assignee and the project tenant have stated that the project tenant will offer educational and learning benefits to the district and students, and I presume that's the school district. The assignee and such other parties as may be required by the act or agency, collectively the project beneficiary for the project, will not construct the project and will locate in another community without the financial assistance. The project will employ more than 800 full-time equivalent jobs within 2 years of completion of the project facility. The project will provide the project employees at least 75% of the average Orange County per capita income in accordance with the U.S. Census Bureau. The number of spin-off construction jobs will total or exceed 300. The value of the land is and will be more than $5 million. The project will preserve and rehabilitate a historic structure on the land. Moving on to paragraph I. The project should receive financial assistance in the form of exemption from sales and use tax, real property tax, real estate transfer tax, and mortgage recording tax based on the agency's uniform criteria for the evaluation of projects policy and the pilot request contained in the second deviation notice. The cost-benefit analysis undertaken by the agency and the description of expected public benefits to occur as a result of this project as described on Exhibit A, attached here too, and failure by the assignee to meet these expected public benefits will result in a recapture event as described on Exhibit B, attached there too. Any questions at this point? Paragraph J, it is desirable and in the public interest for the agency to approve the assignment and to enter into the agency documents. Paragraph K, based on the application and the cost-benefit analysis undertaken by the agency, the project has a project score of a minimum of 12 points under the agency's uniform tax exemption policy, entitling the project to level 3 benefits under such policy. Section 5, the consequence of the foregoing, the agency hereby approves the assignment and hereby determines to A, accept the lease agreement, B, sublease the project facility to the assignee pursuant to the sublease or lease agreement, C, require, construct, and install the project facility or cause the project facility to be acquired, installed, and constructed, D, enter into a payment in lieu of tax agreement, E, enter into a uniform agency project agreement, F, enter into section 875 of the GML recapture agreement, secure the loan, this is line G, secure the loan by entering into the mortgage, and H, grant the financial assistance with respect to the project. And moving on to section 7, the agency is hereby authorized to acquire, construct, and install the project facility as described in the lease agreement and to do all things necessary or appropriate for the accomplishment thereof. And all acts heretofore taken by the agency with respect to such acquisition, construction, installment are hereby ratified, confirmed, and approved. And moving on to the next page, brings up an item I have spoken with the board about, but this is where it would be ratified if we so vote to do so. Page 9, section 10, The agency hereby appoints its local labor law consultant, Loki Brill Consulting Group Incorporated, for the project to monitor compliance with the agency's local labor policy. And with that, I would ask for any questions from the board. Am I missing any important points? Bob?
I think you substantively covered every provision. I would just note for the board that the recapture events on Exhibit B will become part of the recapture agreement. And so to the extent there's a non-fulfillment of any of these events and commitments by the assignee, the board and the agency can consider implementing recapture procedures, which you did do last year with the Pollock Talix matter, recaptured about $25,000.
Bob?
On section K, section 5, subsection
Which
G,
page?
Page 8, it says secure the loan by entering into the mortgage, and that means we're gonna be one of the mortgage holders or the town?
The agency
Yes.
signs the mortgage in order to provide the mortgage exemption, mortgage tax exemption, but there's no obligation. There's provisions added to the mortgage to make sure that there's no obligation of the agency to make the mortgage payments.
And related to the previous comment by our council on the recapture, we had a number of comments, including in the letter from the school about concern with recapture with the tenant as compared to the landlord owner. And Bob has discussed that, and you feel they're properly covered here.
We've added language in here that it's the assignee and other entities in related to the project. And the goal would be to capture as many real entities as possible in the recapture agreement, so that it's a real agreement and not just an agreement with a single purpose entity that may have no other asset other than the real property. I would note, however, that the property will have substantial value, and the agency will have a lien on that property by way of the leaseback arrangement, so that even if that single purpose entity somehow doesn't exist in a short period of time, the lien is still there, and presumably when the new property owner, if a new property owner were to take title, the lien would then be paid at that time.
Any other questions on this approving resolution by the board? Hearing no other questions or discussion, I would entertain a motion for approval of this document we just reviewed.
I make that motion.
Motion by John Dixon. Is there a second to that? John?
Second motion.
John Macchiosi. Any other discussion on the motion? Not hearing any other discussion, I'd ask for a vote by roll call, starting on my far right with John Macchiosi.
Yes.
John Dixon.
Yes.
Ed Williams.
Yes.
Yes. Bob Santo.
No.
Steve Rinaldi.
No.
Matt Stoddard.
Yes.
That gives us a 5 in favor and 2 opposed. The motion is carried and this document is approved. Anything else we need to cover on this, Bob?
No, I think the board has acted on everything we need to do today, unless there's other business.
Is there any other business to come before us today? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I make that motion.
By John Dixon, second by Bob Santo. All in favor of the motion to adjourn, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for coming out.